Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of TDU Live. This week, we're going to be going through the Pixar's new trailer, Onward. Be talking about type of reaction for that trailer, but it's something I've been excited about. It's been something I've been hearing about in the industry for a long time. This has been this kind of secretive Pixar project. I know a lot of the stuff they've been doing lately has been sequels, so it's very cool to see some new projects, some new ideas coming out, and so we're going to go through that a little bit. First up, we've got a couple of quick TDU announcements, or the biggest one is that we have another round of registration opening up for the Ultimate Lighting Bundle. We will have that on and ready to go on June 15th. So if you are looking to have the Ultimate Lighting Bundle, June 15th is the date you want to mark on. That'll be the day. We'll have more information moving forward on that. Just want to make sure you guys mark that down on your calendars. June 15th, the day that we're going to be reopening the Ultimate Lighting Bundle. And that'll be your only opportunity this summer to sign up. The next one won't be until September. Okay, so now let's get into it a little bit. Let's bring this up here. So, oh, my face got too big. No, my face is even bigger. Okay, there we go. Nope, wrong one. There we are. Okay, so now let's talk about this trailer a little bit. So I'm hoping that you all have seen it because I'm going to stop and we're not going to play the audio on it just because we're going to, yeah, I didn't want it to be super choppy. Okay, you know what? I'll let this play through once entirely at first, and then we will go through shot by shot and kind of talk about the different flow of it a little bit. So it's a very short, this is more of a, I was calling it a trailer. This is more of a teaser. Trailers are generally 2.5 minutes long or less. Teasers are a little bit shorter. And I'll just talk about the overall process when you're working on a film, what it's like to work on a teaser trailer. Basically, what happens is your producers will come together with a magical list of shots that they want. They come together with a cut that they want for a trailer. And they send it to the studio, and in the studio, it's up to us to get those shots ready and prepared for the trailer. It's a common misconception in our industry that if you're seeing the trailer, that means the film is done and you're just kind of hand selecting individual shots that have already been completed. But in reality, the opposite is often true, where the shots get selected and then you have to make them look good and you have to finish up the animation, you have to finish stuff because we have to market the film. We have to get people excited about the project. And ultimately, there are some that will argue that the marketing of the film is even more important than the film itself. So getting people excited about it, getting people to the box office, getting people invested in the characters and the story and excited and talking about it is essentially what we want to do. So I just want to give you guys a little oversight into the trailer process. If you have any questions about that, I'll be happy to answer. Okay, so again, a quick one, lots of titles. There's Disney, Pixar. All right, so this first opening shot, a couple things I want to talk about with this one. Number one is we've got this really beautiful white Pegasus flying over this green background. So the white character is able to pop off the slightly darker background. You can see some sparkles in the wings there, which is a really, really nice added little detail. It's something that's you want to do that if I like to do it if anytime that we're having like snow or any type of magical object. If you can just do a pass where you're getting some sparkles in there, like we just do like a sparkle shader on it, that will really help a lot. Lots of just motion blurry background. The Pegasus is pretty static, so the sharper shapes will kind of pop forward on that as well. And then as she pops up in here, one thing I want to point out is just the positioning of the clouds, kind of not only the clouds, but also these elements all just kind of frame her up a little bit. So she falls into this center pocket area where it's nice and we can really focus in on her and really get that kind of hero iconic pose. The other thing I want to talk about is this, the setting, the environment, because there are a couple things. Number one is the clouds, just getting some really beautiful shaping here on the clouds on this screen left side as the sun's kind of coming in that way. The one thing that you want to look at, and this was something that really I needed to look at reference a lot at, I needed to look at, like, just pay attention in the world, is when you're out in the world, just pay attention to clouds. They're really unique in that they do kind of flatten out in these non key areas. They kind of go from being very bright and warm on the sunny side to getting a little bit grayed out and just kind of like a blue gray in the flat. So this feels very real, and then just like a little bit of darkness around these edges. But overall, like that is very accurate kind of photorealistic sky. For the background, they're not revealing too much yet. There's just some little bit huts and things going on. But a couple things to point out with this type of environment, when we talk about this in the environment class, is just getting this sense of scale, creating these pockets of light and dark areas so we can really feel that this is a vast landscape. If it was just a sun shining in and it was uniform, it would feel much smaller. But because you can see clouds in the environment, we want to create a gobo or something that's going to cast shadows over this vast landscape so we can really feel that scale. We can really feel the effects in there. I mean, just look at these peaks. Like this one's in shadow, this one's in light, this one's in like 3/4 light, that's in like, half light. And then all of these back here just kind of fall into the atmosphere of falling off and falling off into the distance. This one, you can see the tip is in shadow, but the base of it down here is in the sunlight. And that's kind of what we want. We want to just create pockets of light so it feels like the sun is being, there's some shadow being cast in the sun from the sun. And the one thing I do want to point out too is just how difficult it is to light this Pegasus character, and how they did a very, very good job of keeping it very cool, but also very clean and white, highlighting this. You can see this, why am I forgetting the name of the unicorn's horn? Is a little bit brighter than everything else because that's like the special element other than the wings. Like this translucency on the wings is just beautiful. The tail looks great. The shaping in here looks great. Getting that shaping in there's a really delicate balance. They did a really nice job with that one. This shot, same way. We've got some just some really nice kind of, like I said, pockets of shadow versus light versus the tip here's in shadow, base is in light. Just good shaping all across these. The refraction and reflection in the water is really key. So getting this blue sky color to match up with that one is very key, and they did a really nice job of that. These effects look nice. We're getting this element there popping out of the water. It's a little clearer, a little whiter. Getting this kind of sky speck hits on some of this stuff is really, really nice, and getting some kind of sky shaping in some of these elements is a really, really good added feature there. It's nice that they allowed this specular highlight to hit on the tail that allows that to read a little bit more. It's just kind of like this flash of color that flashes forward. And again, with something like this, with like water splashes, if you kind of go through frame by frame, you can see it's not the most like highly detailed thing. Like even here, it's just like, it just looks like some dots over it. But when you play it in motion, it really reads and it really looks nice. So it's just a, you don't have to go too crazy with that stuff. Same deal here. And one of the things that's nice about this shot is, although we have that kind of the photoreal clouds again, they've allowed these spiry backgrounds to go pretty abstract. And the nice thing about that is once this more detailed airplane comes in, it really, really changes things around. Having this little bit of smoke behind it's nice. Getting the shaping here on this is nice. Reading the city kind of off in the background, and then falling into this, into our hero element. So we've got, just good shaping across these roofs, really feeling that warmth, that late day sunshine kind of coming in here, just good shaping across here. Really beautiful stuff there. Something I wanted to point out with this shot was just looking at the texture of the brick, because it's very, very easy when you're doing if you're doing a brick walkway like this to just make some cubes and kind of scale them down. But I want you to notice these edging. I want you to notice how they were kind of beat up. They're kind of worn down. They're not perfect. They are getting a little bit of specularity, which is nice. And they're all different, right? They've all been aged and worn and weathered a little bit differently. So you can kind of, I know it's a small detail, but it really, really, really helps this shot. Very cool character here. It has a very Wreck-It Ralph type of a design where everything's like these kind of square blockiness, blocky hands, blocky toes, blocky torso, and then just kind of the triangle nose is helpful. But just look how like squared up he is. Difficult to light because it's hard to get shaping on those flatter surfaces, but that's a nice one. This trailer really felt like a Zootopia type thing with all these gags with all the different kind of animals doing their thing. or in this case, the centaur. I shouldn't call the centaur an animal. But getting these white hooves to read across the background is really good. This one's nice. And again, like using what animals, or in this case, mythical creatures do well. But one thing about this one that I really like is pay attention to the amount of specularity in this paint. So the paint really feels like wet paint. You can see it kind of wiping on here as she goes past it there. And you can feel it really up here in the shadows. So that's a small detail, but a really nice detail as well. And then something else to point out is just like this reflection in the hood of the car is really nice. And same deal what I was talking about before, getting the blue speck hits from the sky up there in the roof is a really nice element as well. Some other just basic ones here, like I'm using very bright primary colors to pop off the background so we can see this cash for gem sign. This is a really cute one with the, I love the shaping that we're getting across the nose, the warmth and the hair and the ears. This is just really beautiful stuff in the scenery, just getting good shaping on the plants and just everything kind of picking up light. Now we hit our hero character. One thing about him that I think is very interesting, and this is something that people who worked on Smurfs talked a lot about, is like how to get a blue character to feel human, to feel like you want to make a connection to them so they're not like too crazy. And they did it here the same way that you're going to see it in that you'll see it in the Smurfs and the other things. And that's to make it feel like there's some red blood flowing through their veins by adding these translucent areas around the nose, around the ears, around the eyes to really kind of feel, to read as red. This is a nice one. This is a nice, what I like to call a 1, 2, 3 scenario when there's adding some depth and stuff. Was there's like this area back here in the kitchen's 1, then this area in between this kind of darkness area is 2, and then the foreground area is 3. Let me see if I can slip a 3 in there. So now when this character runs through, it goes light, shadow, light, which makes it really feel like it's moving through the space, which is a nice touch from an interior space. But getting characters to read like they're passing through the light of the environment feels really good. I'm surprised they didn't do more of a ding in that area or something to get the eyes to really read, because it's like having these manacle eyes is really nice, because we have some really nice elements otherwise, like just this subtle shaping here. This is a little bit strong, but I'm not going to question it. I think it looks pretty cool to get that light kind of reading in from there. And then we cut into this. And these guys are going to be all about their hero colors, because again, and then the parent coming in here, passing through that same shadow area into the same light. So this is a nice transition from the shadow into the light, so we can kind of really read her reaction than just the spray bottle here to get him off. This is nice balancing here too. I really like what they did here by keeping the shadow and allowing that to be part of the performance. Is really good. And getting the character, like I talk about this a lot with the framing, like allowing this door frame to really frame up the character is a nice element too. And keeping that a little bit darker and pushing that white door frame back. This is really, I love this time of day. It feels a little bit magical. It doesn't really feel like a kind of Earth time, like, because it's kind of like that. It's past golden hour. It's like, it almost feels like after the sun has set. We're just getting some little pockets of light in here. Just to make it feel like there's more going on in the world, that other creatures are living in the space. One thing I do want to talk about with this, these series of shots, and we talk about a lot in terms of hero color on a character. So these guys, they definitely want you to make sure that you know that their reading is blue as their hero colors. And there's a couple of opportunities for them to kind of push those values, but they lay off of it a little bit here in the teaser trailer, because, and another secret of teaser trailers, just because something appears here doesn't mean that we have to keep that shot exactly the same for the film. We oftentimes change it up. Oftentimes the shot won't even appear in the film. It's just for kind of marketing purposes. So one of the things I want to read about him is he's inside a car at night with, it looks like the sun's coming in from this side. So we're actually not going to get that much sun in there, but he's feeling pretty filled in there. Like, we're definitely reading his face, definitely reading his color. And even when he steps out of the car, there's a little bit of extra light, but really not that much to read it. And I'm thinking that's a stylistic choice because we really want these the audience to get a connection to these characters. And same thing with our main guy here. So the second he's inside, there's definitely a lot, like look at all that warm light around. But as he steps outside, it changes a little bit, but not that much. You definitely still feel that change, but these guys are always going to stay on their hero color, that very blue color. This is nice too. So now these Pegasus are a little bit dirtier than we saw in the original one. And you can see here, like, well, there's a couple little things I want to point out. Number one is their eye white popping out. And the reason why they're popping it out is there's a gag that happens here that makes them seem a little bit dopier. So if you watch this, the way this screen left eye stays the same, that screen white one kind of becomes googly first and moves over. So I think that's something that they worked hard on and they wanted to get that to read. So I think that's a really nice little element there. And then this gag of, kind of growling at him and getting his gums and teeth to read. So that's artificially brighter than they would be, but getting that to read is really, really nice. Getting them to run off there. And same deal inside the car here, we'd feel like they feel extra lifted to me. Like they're getting light coming in through this window and the front. But again, it's all kind of fill light. And I feel like if this was more photorealistic, they would definitely be toned down a little bit. Go through that. And then title. Anytime there's a car, anything, it just makes me laugh. There's always like these 1, 2, 3, like buckle the seatbelt, inject the thing's going, steering wheel, go. Very cool. Like I always think that's very funny. It's a very like a standard movie thing to be like, all right, let's go, boom, 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 boom. And you just see it a lot in films. These headlights look great. Just like, again, they're very, very difficult to get, which is they're smooth on the outside, but they have this under patterning that's kind of breaking them up. Like pay attention to headlights the next time you're in nature, next time you're out in the world. Just look at the headlights in your car. They're crazy. Like again, smooth coating on the outside, but they've got all this texture on the inside. And they do a really, really good job of replicating that there. And then as they're driving off, I really like the way that this, if you watch the roof of the car, the way that this light kind of passes by, they're getting light from the ceiling. We got the double moons, which is cool. We've got all of these clouds just cutting back here towards the middle, which is nice. Very unrealistic, kind of unearth-like, but it, again, just makes it feel like a little bit more of a magical place. So I think that's all of it. So then it's just more title sequences and that. And one other thing that I wanted to point out to you all that I thought was interesting about this, and this is mostly because I'm working on this project, is that, so this character is, and this is just the way the industry goes. So Tom Holland is a very popular actor right now. He's Spider-Man. He killed it in the Avengers and the Infinity Wars movies. And so there's 2 movies coming out with Holland, is this film that we just saw, and the other is a film that we're working on, Spies in Disguise. And again, this isn't like, but I just was blown away at how similar these 2 characters are, because it's kind of like you hear their voice and then you base a character based off of them, and take away his blue skin tone. And this main character and Walter Beckett from Spies in Disguise are quite similar. So it's just interesting how these things develop over time. They become kind of one and the same. I remember when Bolt came out, the female lead of Bolt looked like a lot of other animated characters at that time. It's just the way that these things develop over time. And I just thought I'd point that out to you guys because I thought that was interesting. So if anyone has any questions about the trailer, anything you want to know, I'm more than happy to follow up on it, more than happy to talk about it some more. But we're going to keep doing these, and because I really like talking about the work. I'm going to try and change out the platform a little bit so that it can be a little bit more interactive. We're playing with some new software, so hopefully we'll have that for you all soon. And I look forward to hearing anything else you guys have. So post some comments down below. I'll be happy to go through them and keep going, and can't wait to see what you guys have. All right. Happy lighting.